Well. Good late afternoon, West Ham fans. Let's focus on the academy, shall we? Yes, everybody, Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Busy day already for Monday for the West Ham Network. Anton had a bit of a moan up this morning. We had a bit of a discussion about the game yesterday at lunchtime. Wasn't really a ratings, just a bit of a discussion as always, and sort of deviates into loads of other stuff. Hammer's headlines talk about some of the first team loanees, and we spoke about Freiburg tuning up for our game with a victory away yesterday. But what we try and do every week is, or we do every week, don't try to, we do every week, is we focus on the academy and just taking some time out just to focus on the academy, talking about any latest news about the academy. We talk about, obviously, the academy players out on loan, and then we talk about the games that have been featured in the under-18s, under-21s over the last week. And a mixed bag. I think it's a bit of a mixed bag again. It's not all sort of one way. Now, if we start with news, the first thing I want to talk about is Callum Marshall. We know Callum is obviously on loan at West Brom, and to be fair, it hasn't really. I mean, I've spoken about it before actually, and I spoke about sort of my slight frustration, skepticism about the move to West Brom. West Brom are riding high in the Championship, going for that promotion to the Premier League. Are they really going to give lots of minutes to no disrespect to Callum, an untested, teenager when they've got about afters and forwards already? It was I think it was a bit of a vanity project, I'll be honest, in terms of the loan deal. And I think it's very much, I can see it's very much frustrating West Ham in terms of it. Whether, I'll be surprised if it's something that West Ham officially signed off on, but I don't know. But it doesn't seem to fit. You see some of the others, and we go through some of the other loan signings and how that sort of like makes sense. Would Canada have been better served going to a mid-table Championship side? Yes, quite possibly. Or maybe a League One or League Two side, just to get in and around the first team experience. But according to, there's been a bit of a bit of news about that in terms of the actual loan itself. Carlos Corben, the West Brom manager, actually came out and did an interview and spoke. He broke his silence on the Callum Marshall loan spell. He said, Callum's played 50. I think he's featured in 3 matches since joining in January. A total of no more than an hour he spent on the pitch. But he insists, in terms of Carlos, that Marshall's time at Albion isn't just about getting game time. He believes that training daily and developing his skills in a first-team environment is beneficial for the player. Now, the thing is, he could have probably done that at West Ham, to be perfectly honest. He was on the peripherals of the first team. He just made his first-team debut. We were looking for people who could play on the wing, really, and play off the wing, and that's something that Callum can do. So he would have definitely got more opportunity, possibly staying at West Ham in a strange way. I mean, they've got so many forward players, even with Daryl Dike, who went out injured. He's and apparently Corbyn reckons him training daily, believes that playing in the Championship isn't the be all and end all in terms of going on a loan spell. He thinks that continuing to develop his abilities and understanding before returning to West Ham will be good for him. He goes, it's a pity because he's a player with a lot of good skills and he's in a position where there is still a lot of growth. He's in a growing process, but he isn't going to be ready with game time. It's part of this. We have players who went out on loan to places where we wanted them to play, and they didn't. Some players have experience. They've used this time, the process, and they've brought these things with them when they needed to compete. Other players still need to grow. When you're 17, 18, 19 years old and you go into one level of the championship to a club like West Brom, which is in a good position on the table, you cannot go there in your first loan thinking this is the under 21s. He knows this. I remember in the first notes we put in the club, he was very conscious of this as a process that he needed and wanted to do. At West Ham, he trained 6 times with the first team. The other parts of the under 21s. They're competing in the same league as our 21s. And how many from our under 21s are in the squad? Only in the cup we put them in. So he's openly admitting there that actually he's not going to get. He's very rarely going to get any game minutes. So what's the point of him going now? Makes no sense. To coincide with that, Callum's dad has been tweeting anything with anything which blasts West the loan deal. He's been liking old Callum's dad, bless him. So it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. It looks great on paper, but we said, when he signed, when he went to West Brom, it wasn't going to work, and it hasn't worked. And Callum's dad's probably not making the situation any better by the fact he's liking tweets that are against the loan deal. But in the same way, probably Callum, I wouldn't be surprised Callum's dad and the agent was one of the ones who were forcing to move on him. So we remember seeing, on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, he would say, off to Birmingham and and so they were all for it. But it hasn't worked. And just to epitomise what we were saying, he wasn't even in the matchday squad on Sunday when they won 4-1 away to Huddersfield. So the question you need to ask is, what is the point? There is no point in my eyes of him going out on loan. And actually, to be honest, it's a detriment to the under-21s as well. The under-21s look a bit goal shy at the moment. We could really do with Callum Marshall playing for us at the moment. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Elsewhere, let's talk about some other loans. Gideon didn't get any minutes. He wasn't. He was an unused substitute for Wickham. However, Freddie played the full 90, returned back to the starting lineup, full 90 minutes as they beat Reading 2-1 away. Of course, Wickham are playing in the final of the EFL Trophy against Peterborough in a couple of weeks' time, and Freddie was heavily involved in that match in the semi-final. So I don't think last week he played. He wasn't dropped. He was just rested. And then obviously back in 90 minutes and absolutely caning it as always. We've also got who else? Dan Chesters, bless him, played the full 90 minutes for Salford City at right back, which is nice. He's showing he's showing sort of adaptability. He's played a couple of games right back. I think he's played a couple of games left wing as well. Definitely right back, I think, is where he needs to be. I think he's got his best chance of when he comes back of getting to the first team, in all honesty. Salford lost 3-1 away to MK Dons, though, on that. Let's do Kian. Kian Forsome played the first 79 minutes as Dagenham Redbridge drew 1-1 in a relatively derby match against Southend at Roots Hall. That would have been tasty. They're very close in the league, both of them. Heggie, again, showing her where a low move really works. Played another 90 minutes for Den Bosch in the Dutch second division as they beat relegation rivals Top OSS 2-1 away. So they've gone up to 18th. They were rock bottom, but that victory has shot them up to 18th. As I said, all the first team loans we concentrate on Hammer's headlines that we put out this afternoon. So go back and check out on that. Let's talk about some of the games. We've had a few games, mixed results. As always, we don't always seem to see everyone winning. Under 21s played Fulham under 21s, coached by Hayden Mullins, as they whooped us 3-0 at Rush Green on a very cold Friday night. It's very cold. Fulham are very sort of energetic, very aggressive, and they got a goal quite early on, actually, and then made it 2, and obviously got third in the second half. We missed a hatful of chances. Obama missed some. Cam Swire missed a couple. Good stand-up performances. Julia Robinson, very good as well. Very industrious on that right-hand side. We've got some good right-backs coming through in the club. Ryan Batcham, his first start in central midfield for the under-21s, did a really good job. Patrick Kelly wasn't playing. I don't know if he's got a knock or whatever, but he wasn't playing. He was sat next to us, and neither was Ollie Skulls. Who else played well? George Earthy, always industrious, always wanting the ball, some great touches, was a real live wire, just finding those pockets. Like Jack Grealish does, just finds pockets. He's very much like that, George Earthy. Lewis Orford commanding in midfield as well. Very classy player, Lewis Orford is. Reminds me of a young Michael Carrick in terms of just how he just maintains possession. Never looks rushed. Never like Carrick. Carrick always seems to have time, and so is Lewis. He's one to watch out for. For Jacob Knightbridge, some good saves, but maybe you could probably say maybe one or the two of the goals were his fault. Lack of coming out of the box just quick enough, or just just not getting there, but made up for it with some great second half saves. They play next is against. I've got it here. They next play is it Brighton? Yeah, Brighton on the 15th of March, 7 p.m. at the Brighton training ground. We actually beat Brighton in the quarterfinals of the Premier League International Cup and got through to the semi-finals to play PSV. That date has been confirmed now with April the 9th, Tuesday, April the 9th at Dagenham and Redbridge, the construction ground. They play PSV Eindhoven in the semi-finals of the Premier League International Cup. PSV actually the current holders beating Crystal Palace in extra time in last season's final. So it'd be a good scalp to get that. The boys have been doing really well in that tournament. Obviously, we beat Brighton 2-1 in the quarters. And then we won against Valencia, Celtic, and Dinamo Zagreb in our groups. PSV finished second in their group, but they had to come behind to beat Chelsea 2-1 in the last 8 to set up the semi-final clash with the Irons. So I'm sure there'll be some ticket news coming out in due course about that, but worth keeping that in mind. Be a great evening for sure. Maybe some more silverware for the under-21s. And obviously a lot of these players in the under-21s, the likes of Patrick Kelly, Ollie Skulls, Devine, a lot of them, Casey, a lot of them have been playing in the 18s, which won last year, the FA Cup Youth Cup final. So good to see. Let's talk about the under 18s. They've had a great week. They started off of the week. They played Norwich at the Lotus training ground, and they won. They won comprehensively. Was it 5-1? Yeah, 5-1. 5-1 on Tuesday afternoon, and extended their lead at the top of the Premier League South Division. Some goals. Dan Riggs scored. Ryan Batcham, who was obviously debuting in 21 midfield on Friday. He scored 2 goals for Sawamni and a goal at the end for Halim as well. So Mehmet Halim. So good to see. Fine display. And obviously they'd beaten, was it Blackburn the week before? So Blackburn, then they beat Norwich, and then on Saturday they beat Aston Villa away 4-2, coming back from 2 goals behind to win the game. See, that's what you do, David. That's how you do it. 2-0 down and won 4-2. Dan Rigg there scored a hat-trick and a fantastic result to show some real resilience there, and 3 wins back-to-back for the under-18s. As I said, Dan Rigg hat-trick. Who scored the other goal? I remember. Oh, it's Halim again. Halim in the 90. What? I mean, it was a great game. I mean, basically, they were 2-0 down. Then they went 2-1, 40th minute. And then, which obviously Dan Riggs scored. And then Dan scored in the 90th minute to take it to a draw. The 94th minute to win 3-2. And then Mehmet Halim scored at the end to make it 4-2. Amazing game. We've got some bloody good players in that kid, in that sort of those youth sides. Next up for them, as they continue their league campaign in the under-18s, Premier League South, is against Brighton. They're playing Brighton as well on Saturday, the 16th. 11 a.m. at Little Heath training ground. And that is your academy update. As I said, if you like what we do, don't forget to like, comment, share, all that good stuff. We'll be back tomorrow with all the fun of the fair, getting ready for Thursday. Must-win game, innit? Must-win game. Must win by 2 clear goals. I don't want to go extra time. Although even if we did, we'll be back before bloody EastEnders because of the stupid time it kicks off. Anyway, until then, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith. Go your irons out.